here's a terrifying reality check. While you were sleeping peacefully last night, sophisticated Chinese hackers were potentially monitoring your phone calls, tracking your movements, and stealing your most private communications through a cyber espionage campaign so massive it defies imagination. The cybersecurity world is reeling from revelations about an unprecedented breach that has shattered our understanding of digital privacy. A notorious Chinese hacking collective known as Salt Typhoon has successfully infiltrated over 600 organizations spanning 80 countries worldwide, turning our most trusted telecommunications infrastructure into their personal surveillance network. But here's where it gets controversial. This isn't just another data breach story. This is about a systematic, government-backed operation that has been quietly operating under our noses since 2019, transforming the very devices meant to protect our communications into weapons of mass surveillance. The scope of this cyber espionage campaign reads like something from a dystopian thriller. Salt Typhoon, an advanced persistent threat group with direct ties to Chinese intelligence services, has methodically targeted critical infrastructure across multiple sectors, including telecommunications, government agencies, transportation networks, hospitality services, and military installations. What makes this particularly chilling is their laser focus on the backbone of our digital communications, the routers and network devices that handle our most sensitive data every single day. According to a bombshell joint cybersecurity advisory released by authorities from 13 nations, including the United States, Australia, Canada, the United Kingdom, Germany, and Japan, these cyber attackers have demonstrated an almost surgical precision in their approach. They don't just break in and grab what they can. They establish permanent, hidden access points that allow them to monitor and manipulate network traffic for years without detection. And this is the part most people miss. The hackers aren't randomly targeting organizations. They've identified 3 specific Chinese companies: Sichuan Juxinhe Network Technology Co. Limited, Beijing Huanyu Tiangqiang Information Technology Co. Limited, and Sichuan Jixin Ruji Network Technology Co. Limited, that serve as the bridge between these cyber operations and China's intelligence apparatus. These aren't rogue hackers working from their basement. This is a state-sponsored intelligence operation with unlimited resources and government backing. Brett Leatherman, who heads the FBI's cyber division, didn't mince words when describing the threat. He characterized Salt Typhoon's activities as a relentless espionage campaign specifically designed to breach global telecommunications privacy and security norms. Think about what that really means. Every phone call, every text message, every email passing through compromised infrastructure could potentially be monitored, recorded, and analyzed by foreign intelligence services. The technical sophistication behind these attacks is genuinely mind-bending. Rather than relying on social engineering or phishing emails like typical cybercriminals, Salt Typhoon exploits critical vulnerabilities in enterprise-grade network equipment from industry giants like Cisco, Ivanti, and Palo Alto Networks. They've weaponized specific security flaws including CVE 2018-0171, CVE 2023-20198, CVE 2023-20273 from Cisco Systems, CVE 2023-46805, and CVE 2024-21887 from Ivanti Products, and CVE 2024-3400 from Palo Alto Networks devices. But here's what makes this truly diabolical. Once they compromise a single network device, they don't stop there. They use that initial foothold to systematically map out connected networks, identify additional vulnerable systems, and establish what cybersecurity experts call persistent access mechanisms. This means they can return to compromised networks whenever they want, often months or even years after the initial breach, without triggering security alerts. The attackers employ incredibly sophisticated techniques to maintain their presence. They modify access control lists to whitelist their own IP addresses, open both standard and non-standard network ports for communication, and even run specialized tools within Linux containers on compromised Cisco devices. This allows them to process stolen data locally, stage additional attack tools, and move laterally throughout target networks without raising suspicions. Perhaps most concerning is their exploitation of TACACS plus authentication protocols, the very systems designed to secure administrative access to network equipment. By capturing and analyzing this authentication traffic through compromised routers, they can steal the credentials of highly privileged network administrators, essentially giving them the digital equivalent of master keys to entire organizational networks. The geographic scope of this campaign is staggering. While the United States has been hit particularly hard with approximately 200 organizations compromised, the threat extends far beyond American borders. Even countries like the Netherlands, which initially appeared less affected, have confirmed that Salt Typhoon successfully breached routers belonging to smaller internet service providers and hosting companies. What makes this story even more unsettling is the revelation from major news outlets that this campaign. The Wall Street Journal and Washington Post report that Salt Typhoon has broadened their targeting beyond traditional telecommunications infrastructure to include hospitality, transportation, and other civilian sectors that could provide comprehensive surveillance capabilities. John Hultquist from Google's Threat Intelligence Group offered a particularly sobering analysis of the threat landscape. An ecosystem of contractors, academics, and other facilitators is at the heart of Chinese cyber espionage. This isn't just one hacking group, it's an entire industry dedicated to cyber espionage, complete with specialized contractors who develop custom tools and exploits, and operational teams who execute the actual intrusions. The implications for personal privacy are staggering. When Salt Typhoon compromises telecommunications infrastructure, they gain the ability to monitor who you're calling, when you're calling them, where you are when you make those calls, and potentially even the content of your conversations. When they breach transportation and hospitality networks, they can track your movements, know where you're staying, and build comprehensive profiles of your daily activities. Google's Mandiant division, which contributed to the international advisory, highlighted another deeply troubling aspect of this campaign. Salt Typhoon's intimate familiarity with telecommunications systems gives them unique advantages in avoiding detection. They understand exactly how these networks operate, which security measures to circumvent, and how to hide their activities within normal network traffic. The technical methods they employ read like a masterclass in advanced persistent threats. They enable specialized SSH services on Cisco iOS XR devices, create local user accounts with pseudo privileges, and establish encrypted tunnels for data exfiltration that blend seamlessly with legitimate network traffic. They capture network packet data using native system tools, focusing particularly on authentication protocols that could yield additional administrative credentials. But here's where this story takes a controversial turn that demands our attention. How many of our own government agencies and technology companies were aware of these vulnerabilities and chose not to act decisively? How many organizations are still running vulnerable systems right now, potentially exposing millions of people to ongoing surveillance? The fact that some of these exploited vulnerabilities date back to 2018 raises uncomfortable questions about our collective cybersecurity priorities. While companies and governments invested billions in developing new technologies, were they adequately securing the infrastructure we already depend upon? The Dutch intelligence services statement that their organizations did not receive the same degree of attention from Salt Typhoon hackers as those in the U.S. suggests a level of targeting sophistication that should concern everyone. This isn't random cybercrime, it's strategic intelligence collection with clear geopolitical objectives. As we process the full implications of this massive breach, we're forced to confront some deeply uncomfortable truths about the current state of global cybersecurity. The traditional assumption that our critical infrastructure enjoys robust protection has been shattered. The reality is that sophisticated nation-state actors can and will exploit every available vulnerability to advance their intelligence objectives. What's your take on this massive surveillance operation? Do you believe our governments and technology companies are doing enough to protect critical infrastructure from state-sponsored cyber threats? Should there be more aggressive international responses to cyber espionage campaigns of this magnitude? And perhaps most importantly, knowing that your communications and movements might be monitored by foreign intelligence services, how does this change your perspective on digital privacy and security? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Are you outraged by the scope of this breach? Or do you think this level of cyber espionage is just the new normal in our interconnected world? Let's have an honest discussion about what this means for all of us.